Is replacing Cole Custer with Ryan Preece in the 41 car the right move for SHR? The 2022 NASCAR season may be over, but the 2022 NASCAR silly season certainly isn't. There was a report a while back that Tony Stewart wanted Ryan Preece to replace Cole Custer as the driver of the 41 car at SHR, and that Stewart-Haas wanted to keep Cole Custer in the 41 car for one more year. Oh yeah, and it comes directly from Stewart-Haas himself. It's now being reported that Ryan Preece to the 41 is still a possibility. For the longest time, I thought that the possibility of anyone replacing Cole Custer was pretty low. His dad is the president of SHR, so getting rid of him in the 41 car would be, well, awkward. When Custer arrived in the Cup Series, many believed that he would be a future star of the sport, given his performance in the Xfinity Series, but let's be honest, the last 3 years have been a serious letdown. He's only earned 2 top 5 finishes in 3 years, one of which was his win at Kentucky, and weirdly enough, those 2 top 5s were in back-to-back races in 2020. It's been 2.5 years since the last time Cole Custer managed a top 5 finish, and in the last 2 years he's only managed 5 top 10s and an average finish of 21st. Those aren't good numbers. The performance of Stewart-Haas may be down over the last couple of years, but those are still numbers that should be better with a team like SHR. Now let's look at Ryan Preece, whose last full-time season was with JTG Daugherty in 2021. Preece managed 4 top 10s to Cole Custer's 2, and managed a top 5 where Custer didn't. Preece's average finish was 23rd, which isn't as good as Custer's 21st place average finish, but this was all done in lesser equipment than what Custer had. This year, Preece was obviously not a full-time driver in any of NASCAR's top 3 series, and spent the bulk of his time in the simulator for SHR. But when Preece was on track, he certainly performed. In the Cup Series, Preece only made 2 starts, one of which was cut short by an early wreck, but he did manage a 25th place finish in Rick Ware's number 15 car at Dover, and actually made that car look pretty strong at times. Now SHR likely did throw some extra support in for that race, but even taking that into consideration, putting a Rick Ware racing car in the top 25 is impressive work. In the Xfinity Series, he made 3 starts driving BJ McLeod's number 5 car. His worst finish was 16th, and he also managed 5th and 6th place finishes, giving him a top 5, 2 top 10s, and an average finish of 9th. Again, the argument can be made that SHR was boosting the equipment, but we can compare that to Riley Herbst's 13th place average finish in SHR's own Xfinity team. Now, 3 races isn't a good sample size for that comparison, but hey, it's still something. It was in the Truck Series that Preece was on track the most and where he shined the most. He ran 10 races with David Gilliland Racing, and his worst finish was 11th. He won from the pole at Nashville, earned 7 top 5s and 9 top 10s in just 10 races, and had an average finish of 4.6. Stewart-Haas has no Truck Series team, so while I'm sure there was some sort of support that they were able to give, this could be the best gauge we have of Preece's performance based on equipment. While Preece's average finish was 4.6, the average finish of David Gilliland racing drivers not named Ryan Preece was 19th. It's widely believed that Kevin Harvick will be retiring after the 2023 season, and Preece is likely the leading candidate to replace him in the 4 car if he doesn't end up taking the 41 car next year. I've seen the argument that SHR should sit on Preece for one more year and put him in the 4 car. Ford's driver development program is thin, so there's no one in the pipeline who makes for a clear replacement for Harvick. Alex Bowman is presumably a free agent following next season, so SHR could try to target him for the 4 car, but his relationship with sponsor Ally Bank seems to be quite strong, and that could keep him and Ally in the Hendrick camp in 2024. So it does make sense to hold on to Preece for one more year, but in this situation, I don't really agree with that move. I think Preece's time is now. Not only is he ready for the opportunity, but SHR has had a couple of down years, particularly with the 41 car, and could probably use a shakeup. But still, what I think should happen doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things, and ultimately, I don't think Preece will end up in the 41 car in 2023. While Tony Stewart and Stewart-Haas are both co-owners of SHR, The 41 car has always seemed to belong to Stewart-Haas alone. In 2013, SHR was a 3-car team and Ryan Newman was ousted for Kevin Harvick because Tony Stewart said that the team couldn't afford a 4th car. Later that year, Stewart-Haas offered Kurt Busch a ride in a 4th car for SHR and said he would sponsor it himself through his company. When Busch left in 2019 and Daniel Suarez was brought in for 1 year while Cole Custer gained 1 more year of Xfinity Series experience, Tony Stewart wanted to keep Suarez in the 41 car, but Haas elected to oust Suarez for Custer instead. While Stewart ultimately supported Haas's decision, he did say at the time that Stewart-Haas controls the 41 car, and it was ultimately his decision to make. When Haas spoke to the media about the situation, he said that Tony Stewart wants Ryan Preece in the 41 car, but he wants to give Custer 1 more year to prove himself. I think that in the end, when it comes to the 41 car, what Stewart-Haas wants, Stewart-Haas gets. I think Cole Custer gets at least 1 more year in the 41 car, and Ryan Preece has to wait for 2024 to get the 4 car. Tony Stewart may make his opinion known, but he has less say in what happens with the 41 car, and that has been made clear multiple times over the years. I did see an interesting article from John Moriello at Sportscasting suggesting that SHR could put either Preece or Custer in Rick Ware Racing's 15 car full-time next year. This would fix SHR's driver logjam for next year and help Rick Ware out quite a bit because the 15 car's charter currently stands in jeopardy of being repossessed by NASCAR if they fail to put in a solid performance next year. This is due to the fact that the car has now finished outside of the top 33 chartered teams in 2 consecutive seasons. If SHR does elect to go this route, I think it makes a lot more sense for Preece to take the 15 car. It makes more sense to spend 1 year in the 15 car before moving back to the mothership and taking over the 4 car, much like Joe Gibbs Racing has done with Eric Jones at Furniture Row Racing and Christopher Bell at Levine Family Racing, than it does to boot Custer from SHR, only to have him return a year later. But that's just my prediction. Be sure to let me know what your prediction is in the comments, and whether or not you agree with the idea that Preece should be in the 41 car. One more quick thing before I get out of here. Exactly 1 year to the week after posting my first video, the channel reached 1,000 subscribers, and I could not be more grateful for all of the support that people have given the channel. You have all made this hobby a really enjoyable and meaningful part of my life, so thank you very much from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.